Roguelikes continue to be my favorite kind of game that I play in my spare time, but I do think that the genre is becoming slowly more and more saturated the longer that it exists. The kinds of games that I see as roguelikes are relatively the same, being a top-down shooting, fighting kind of roguelike, or maybe it's a side-scroller, or maybe another strategy deck-building roguelike. Hell, even Balatro, a game I play all the time now and was almost Game of the Year, is a strategy deck-building roguelike. What I'm getting at is that it's hard to find giant steps of innovation in this game genre when the most popular games within the genre kinda have the same game flow to them. So I've been trying to look for some unique roguelites in order to see what new things they could introduce to the genre. To my surprise, a game I'd been following for some time turned out to be developed into a roguelike without me even realizing. Haste is currently just a demo, but it's a fast-paced 3D platforming roguelike developed by Landfall Games. You'd probably know Landfall Games as the creators of Cluster Truck, Tabs, any of the other Tabs games, and most recently, Content Warning. Looking at Haste, I was kinda surprised to see it come out of Landfall, since a lot of the stuff that Landfall has made, I feel, has been relatively one-note, with it kind of revolving around ragdoll physics or some kind of simulation. I assumed that Haste was going to be similar to one of their earlier releases, Cluster Truck, and just be a level-based 3D platforming story game. Well, Cluster Truck is not much of a story game, I just mean it has the typical progression of a 3D platformer. Haste still does have typical level-by-level progression, except they put it in a roguelike format, taking a similar map to Slay the Spire or Peggle or any other roguelike that uses that kind of overworld map, and puts it into a 3D platforming context. There's no actual combat in this game aside from boss battles. Haste is basically a racing roguelike, where every level you're on a timer of the floor falling behind you, and you need to reach from point A to point B as fast as you can, all while picking up points while you do it. The game has a unique control system too. You can't actually jump, you have to use the terrain around you to launch yourself as high as you can, and then control how fast you fall by holding the spacebar. You get rated based on how good your landing is, and depending on how good your landing is, you get faster or slower. The game feels insanely good to control, and honestly, it doesn't even have to be a roguelike, but I'm so happy that it is. But what makes it a roguelike besides the procedurally generated levels? Well, as you might assume, a good roguelike has items that alter your run too. Although not completely game-altering like other roguelikes, this game's items offer a nice variety to the runs that you'll do, and it gives the game more of a sense of replayability, as well as giving the players an opportunity to give themselves a unique build. For example, there are items that will only happen when you take damage, whether it will speed you up for every single piece of missing health, or upon taking damage it'll give you a light boost on the initial hit. This gives players to go for a more risky playstyle in order to seize the opportunity of finishing levels faster and getting a higher rank and more rewards. The game is very well thought out. When I first found it, I thought it was just going to be another basic 3D platformer, and I thought that the developers might have that in mind too. I thought that this might be another game that's just turned into a roguelike just for the sake of fitting into a genre, but it clearly isn't. All the items are thought out, the different abilities that you get from either buying items or starting with characters, although there's only one character in the demo, also introduce enough variety for me to want to play the game and pick it up once it fully releases. I do hope though that they add some more gimmicky items that can alter the game pretty fundamentally. I feel like the staple of a lot of good roguelites are the items that they offer, and having some unique items that players will strive to get or be happy when they find will give the game more prominence in the roguelite genre. Overall, Haste I think is a really good game. Roguelike aside, it controls super smooth, has some pretty cool character designs, the music is super good, the graphics are really nice, and there aren't any moments in the gameplay where I feel like it's being overly unfair or difficult. Everything feels super manageable and fun, with just enough difficulty to keep me on my toes. I wanted to keep this video short and mainly just put it out so I can get this game on more people's radar, since I think it's super good and it adds some much needed variety to the roguelite genre. Also, this isn't sponsored at all, I just think the game is super cool, and the developers really seem to love this game. The game is out right now on Steam, and I really hope that everyone watching tries it out for themselves, since it's a relatively quick experience and replayable if you do want to pump more time into it. Thanks for watching.